Please rise. Please rise. And we're gonna have, Rocky Vitale give us some pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States to the republic which stands under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, so we have, two new members on the finance board who are here for the first meeting tonight. So I'm gonna, Mrs. Solomon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then I'm gonna have Teresa do the same thing, and then I'm gonna swear you in. And then you're bound to us every Monday night until we get a budget.
So I'm with all of you, some of you have said this like actors, somewhere between Dominic and but I just my kids in school here, we have spring in churches in school and Sunday school, so we added people. I recently retired from Norfolk Valley Community College as a accountant and economics professor. I'm still there in the part-time capacity. I also was on the Parks and Rec Commission for about 10 years. And then,
Thank you. Teresa?
I'm Teresa Soka, and I've lived here most of my life. I lived for 12 years. Second, I moved here about 6 years. I was born in Europe, here, and I own American Village Furniture on Maple Street, and I'm involved in the Historical Society. And I've known Ken most of his life.
Yes, since I was 6 years old,
Yeah,
actually. We used to be neighbors.
so take an interest.
All right, so why don't, both of you stand up? Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, state your name, do solemnly swear that I will fulfill the duties of the office of Finance Board member in accordance with the charter of the borough, the laws of the state of Connecticut, and the laws of the United States of America, so help me God. Congratulations. Now, for your first night, you're gonna come to 2 meetings, and by the way, we don't expect you to absorb everything all at once. There's a lot of things that are happening, a lot of new procedures for you, and you know, we encourage you to ask questions and get involved. But tonight, in our first meeting, we have our joint board. So this is the finance board and the borough board sitting together as the joint boards. And we're gonna take up some year-end transfers that are things that have happened over the course of the year. So what happens is, before we finalize our surplus and our final calculations, we know we have a surplus, but some accounts are over, some are under, just like any business in the world. So what we're gonna do tonight when we get to that is we're gonna balance those two so that they will offset each other, and then that will allow our controller, Allison Bruce. Did you both meet Allison?
Yes, we did.
Okay, to you know, to conclude the year end, and then we go through the audit process and everything else. But so this is what the joint board meeting is, what I would call tonight sort of a loose end of the year kind of transfer. Now in Naugatuck, the way we do things is the finance board, the 10 people on the finance board, actually create a budget where we meet with every department, we go through every line item, and we put together a budget, which is, and by the way, the Burgesses have the right, the opportunity to be here and listen, because this is really the only place in the budget process where you can ask questions directly to the department heads. So every department will be here, every department head will be here. We're gonna go through every item in their budget, and this is the best place to ask questions. So don't be bashful in asking questions. So we're gonna go through every department, and we're gonna put together a proposed budget, which is then presented to the Board of Mayor and Burgesses. And then as a group together, we go through it, we refine it, we create scenarios and come up with the best budget we can for the town. Now, for everyone who's here this year, who's been here, I'm gonna say, I've been here, this is my 8th one, so the last 7 or so. It's gonna be a little different this year because normally when we get to the end, we know how much money we're gonna have coming in, and we know how much money we're planning on spending. What's different this year is we have a very unique reval situation where the borough board may, probably will, phase in reval. And the reason for that is that there have been major increases in property values, but different groups have been affected differently. So, for example, in general, residential has gone up more than commercial. In the residential categories, I'll say lower priced residential homes have gone up more than mid-range or upper end. So different people are affected differently because reval is designed to equate everyone's value. So if your house was underassessed for a long period of time, and you also had a major increase, your property value is going to go up more than average. And when that happens, your tax bill can go up dramatically, even though the tax rate goes down. So we could, if we wanted to this year, implement reval all at once, which would mean the mill rate would go down somewhere close to 37 mils, which is fantastic, except that there's a whole host of people who would not be able to afford the increase because it would be extremely high, in the maybe $1,500 range, even though the mill rate is down. So we're talking about at the borough board level a phase in where over 3, 4, or 5 years we would phase it in, so the impact would be spread out over a period of years. But the reason I'm saying that is when we get to the end this year, we're going to have to not only figure out how much money we want to spend, we're going to know how much money we have coming in, but we're going to have to adjust the phase in at the borough board level and time it right so we can put it all together. So we never have deviated from our schedule. Everyone has seen the schedule. And we plan to stay on that schedule. And we always make sure we're done before June so we can send out the tax bills in a timely manner. But it's going to be a little different at the end of the year this year because the phase-in will impact what we're doing. So I guess I'll stop there and just, does anyone have a question about what I just said?
What would the phase look like with the steps?
Well, it could be 25% over 4 years. Could be, say, 40, 20, 20, 20. It could be 25, 25, 25, 25. It could be anything like that. Now you have to remember though, the basic dispute is going to come down to the lower end residential versus commercial, because on the commercial side, there's many businesses whose taxes go way down. and they'd rather have their taxes go way, way down all at once. So people are gonna be impacted differently. And, the borough board will put together, a plan that we think is the fairest. Um, Any preliminary matters?
I'm ready when you're ready.
Okay. Well, first, we need to make some official appointments.
Okay.
Okay, so since we have some vacancies today, I'm going to appoint Teresa to fill in for Nicole, who's not here tonight, and Elma for Jason, for James Higgins, who's not here tonight. So you two are voting members.
First night.
First night.
Vote.
Okay, we do have a vacancy on the board still.
Don't mess it up.
So, okay,
That was a joke.
okay, and then let's get on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with need to entertain a motion that the
Well,
joint.
hold on. At this time, I formally turn over the proceedings to Finance Board Chairman Ken X.
Thank you. Okay, so I will we point to the alternates. So I need to entertain a motion that the joint boards of Mayor and Burgess and the Board of Finance approve minutes of special meetings of March 7th, April 25th, May 9th, and May 11th. Each member having received copies. So make a motion.
Motion.
Seconded by. Seconded by Jan. Any discussion? These are the few meetings we had over the course of the year on transfers and requests. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Aye.
Aye.
Hands on the delay again. Okay. Next is the entertain a motion that the joint boards of Mayor and Burgess and Board of Finance approve the end of year transfers for fiscal year 2021-22 as recommended by Allison Bruce. I need a motion, a second, and then we'll let Allison do the explanations. I need a motion. Motion by Steve, seconded by Wayne. In discussion, turn over to Allison first. Oh,
Can I
yours.
start off?
Can I just,
Or Pete.
Yeah, hand it
this
up.
is the transfer sheet that I handed out that will right now. These are the transfers that are required to balance fiscal year 2022. We are currently around $200,000 surplus, and that doesn't count these because it's the net transfer. Okay?
So I'm gonna make some preliminary comments.
It's what-
All right. So if you look at the two numbers on the top, those are savings. So 965,691 the savings in debt service as we anticipated when we approved the wastewater treatment plant contract. So that's not a surprise. We planned for that to happen, and it did pretty much exactly as we expected. And secondly, on the pension item, when we did our I wouldn't call it a refinance, but when we redefined our future payments and we went through that extensive transaction, we also anticipated savings of 1,291,000. If you recall, we saved actually 6 million plus. We're going to save $1 million plus a year every year going forward. And again, just by background, our pension plans are in very, very good shape because we've provided not only for past debt, future debt. So we're probably, in fact, we are the only town who has already made arrangements to pay our future obligations. And we also know that our pension plan contributions are going to go down because we closed the pension plan in 2012. There's no one new going in. So as people fade away or die, it's going to ultimately someday go down to zero. So we're very strong in the pension plans, and we did a very creative transaction last year that enables us to save money every year. So what you're going to see here is a little over 2 million in savings, and then the other accounts that we'll go through with Allison one by one went over, and then the motion basically is to balance them out. Right?
Correct.
All right, so Why don't you take
Pete,
us?
Pete, Pete,
Hold
Pete,
on.
can I ask something? We don't have that document. Do you have it, Mike?
Well, everyone
He
does.
doesn't have it,
I didn't,
You didn't send
except
it.
us. And there's 3 Burgesses here with no document.
I'll yield it.
So email it to me.
Is it available to put up on the screen?
Lee?
No.
All right, so Allison will email it to you right now.
And
Who is it? Jan,
And Mike and Dorothy
Dorothy, yep,
Joe Savarese.
Joe Savarese.
and Joe Savarese,
and Serum.
and probably Nancy needs it for the records. So,
Serum's there also.
Yeah, I don't have it as well.
Okay, let's,
Is there anyone on their serum? No? No. Just Nancy.
Just Nancy.
Thanks, Jan.
all right, I'm looking for it. Full screen, go to email. No, Seneca. It's not here yet, so
She just got up, Jen. She's coming.
Get it yet?
Stop.
Wow.
Are we here yet? Is he gonna do that?
you know, I don't know. who's here, but You can take the budget, so.
Yeah, we're actually. we're gonna-
Ken, you're having a great first meeting, and thank you for not waking me up last night.
Oh, you're welcome. Tell the guys to wind the sirens up next time.
All right, that didn't matter. I was out.
We're up, you're up, you know?
Mayor, just a question for what you talked about with the pension for the firemen. So does that mean that one?
It's not just the farm, everything.
It says contribution.
I know, I'm just saying it was more than the farm.
So that pension bucket, does that mean going forward? It'll be $1.2 million
Well,
less going.
I don't
forward?
want to say it'll be 1.2, but our savings annually are over $1 million.
Okay, I wasn't sure if we're gonna be taking that out of future budgets, or it's just.
I think the first year is different because the money was in the budget to pay it. So now we're taking it back. Next year, and every year thereafter, it's not gonna even make it to the budget because we don't have to pay it.
How many employees are still under the old?
Well, it's different at, well, police, fire, street, town hall, they're all a little different, but I would say at the fire department, John would probably know
6 of us.
six,
I'll go tomorrow.
six left.
Okay.
There's more at the police department and,
There'll be many
I
of
would
those
say it's-
with works.
okay, I would say, if I had to guess, I'll say 40% would be the highest group that still remains.
Is it there yet? Is it there yet?
Yeah, I just got it.
All right, Allison, take us through those items.
I've got it. Go ahead. Yep.
So the first line item is finance, $637.25 for tuition reimbursement requests that exceeded the budget for fiscal year 2022.
We'll take questions as we go, right?
Right.
Okay,
So IT, there was an increase in an annual fee for 28,000. That was maintenance contracts. There was an increase on the website for a software license for $1,307. There was an excess and overtime due to the academy for the fire department, $257,115. Next 3 items, there were excess building repair costs in East Side Fire and the Town Hall repair maintenance and building maintenance. The next one is if you're all familiar with the Black Rock canine case, that is the balance of after the state refunded us what they were reimbursing. So that,
question on that, is there any way we can, are we attempting to recoup any portion of that?
that's the balance after we recouped.
Okay,
And
townwide activity with gasoline we exceeded the estimated amount in the, contract. And when you exceed that, you go into the current price. And so that's what that number is due to. We're doing a much stronger analysis this year on the fuel contract, and our goal is not for that to happen.
So let me stop you there. As you recall, Bob Butler used to, do some pricing for us every year, so have you allocated that responsibility to someone else?
Felix Planis and myself are handling right now. We actually had a meeting with the president of the consortium. We talked about different ways of driving the price down for the whole consortium. And we've actually discussed tank replacement project and which larger volume tanks create lesser volume on delivery, which drives the price down. So we had a lengthy discussion about how we drive the price down with the consortium. They aren't locking in on a price yet. They're going to be locking in soon. They're monitoring the prices.
But that's a time sensitive matter.
They feel that it could go down a little.
No, but I mean, oh, we have to be ready for that.
Right, correct. But that won't happen until after the budget occurs because they lock down and then the contract is paid in September 1st of each year. So it's a timing thing, and
I guess my point is you're gonna keep track of the time.
yes, it's Felix and myself who are tracking it. And Felix actually has access to the fuel master system at the police department, and he's running reports on that.
Allison, how big is the consortium?
When I was on that call, there had to been close to 200 people on that call.
200 different towns?
No, 200 people.
200 people.
Myself and Felix were on the call, so that's just one municipality. So I don't know.
But
how many
there's quite a bit. It's not.
It's very long.
And that's just Connecticut?
It's municipality in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yes.
Carry on.
Oh, yeah, no, question.
Oh,
I don't ever remember seeing the overage of usage. And you said you're monitoring, price, we're monitoring usage, like, why did we go over by so much?
Okay, so there's a timing cycle that goes up. Contract gets signed to start September 1st. We pay for the bulk ahead of time because that's the lowest price that we can get from the contract. The analysis goes by fiscal year, and you have to have, you can only have what you used at the time that they're locking down the price, because that's when you put in your volume of gallons for each type of fuel. So you have the heating oil, you've got diesel, and you've got gasoline in each one of them. So now Fuel Master is the gasoline tanks that are in here. I get slips delivered directly from any heating oil that's put in, and the diesel has tanks that are on the Fuel Master system. So we're really analyzing it this time, and we're really looking at, and I'm actually thinking we may like just compare years, but also PPW is doing natural gas versus fuel, and we have to adjust for that fuel down and then look for fuel up. So we're on it.
Yep, no, I just was curious because it's something I don't remember seeing. So it may have been happening when we weren't.
Well, it happens on the Burgess side. They approve the contract with the lockdown prices. That happens after the budget gets approved.
So also, this line item is gasoline, fuel oil, and diesel.
No,
It's
it's just
just the
gasoline.
gasoline.
Right. There's a diesel fuel and a diesel home. It's residential.
So Allison, we made out okay on diesel. Is that what that means?
Correct.
Okay.
We're on social security. So that's the social security line item and the pension budget. And when overtime goes up and when other salary-based items go up, we have to match our 6% on social security. So when that goes up, this one went over, and we're compensating for it. The same thing with the next line item, which is a defined contribution on non-pension employees. And they have a percentage match that runs in the same scenario. In addition to certain departments that have a choice of going up or down on their percentage choices. And you have people increasing their contribution to hit over their match and sometimes just reaching their match. And that changes around all year long. So it's really an estimate and you have to just estimate the best you can for that. The next item, are you jumping in now or am I?
Labor?
Yeah.
I'll do it. So, in labor, we went over 29.2. I'm gonna say 90+% of that was in the firefighters arbitration. The good news is that arbitration saves us in this current fiscal year 188,000, and going forward, more than that. It's going to be more than that in the next fiscal year. So it was a hard fought battle, but I think it was money well spent. Next item. Legal,
Yes,
want me to do it?
yes, sir.
Okay, so we went over in legal, and I didn't know why until today, so we pulled out the sheets to check. So the unique items that came up in legal this year were the well, I'm going to call it the hunt matter at the police department, board of ed, and there were quite a few extra legal expenses there. We had a full-scale trial in the zoning enforcement area where we prevailed in court on a trial enforcing our zoning rights. And the good news is that that case will ultimately result in, I'm going to say, between a $75,000 and $100,000 return of zoning violation fees to the borough. So that will more than make up for that overage. And then lastly, we had a whole bunch of tax appeals related to solar installations on homes. Our former assessor taxed them. The court ruled that that was inappropriate, and there were settlements of a whole host of cases. So we spent extra money in legal on those tax assessment appeal cases. Everything else was what I would say standard things that happen every year. Those were the unanticipated items. What's next?
Ambulance.
What?
Ambulance.
Okay, so ambulance is something at the borough board that we all know about. I don't know if we, Ken knows all about it. I don't know if we talked about it at finance, but we could talk for hours about this, but the long and the short of it is that we had a very poor ambulance service in the past under a 501c3 operation that was not doing well in a lot of areas. We took over control of the operation and upgraded a lot of their equipment and other things. So the borough board decided that it was worth the investment to buy new equipment and really upgrade the ambulance service. And I have to say it's one of the best things we've done. We have excellent service now. We have new life-saving equipment, real, solid fleet of vehicles. We've got great morale, great employees, and the ambulance corps is, really, really, I don't want to say heading in the right direction. I say we've reached, the right spot and we're actually helping other communities now. So, they're doing very well, but we did make an investment in equipment in order to get them, to that spot.
And the last line is, we paid off a Siemens lease. This is the last year that we owed. We paid it off a year early based on the surplus from the bond, deal that we did.
And
Remember, that was a Board of Ed lease that we took over from them in lieu of making an additional payment to the Board of Ed. And, we paid it off completely, so we'll never see that payment again.
Correct.
It's always good to pay off the debt.
Yes, it is. Okay. Any other questions? Anyone on Zoom questions? Okay. All in favor of accepting the transfers as presented?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I,
Motion carries. And, that's it.
Motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to adjourn.
Who's gonna make it?
Steve, you want this motion?
Wayne,
Wayne, motion to adjourn, seconded by Rocky.
What? I'm sorry.
Motion to adjourn?
seconds.
Yes. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
I.